Today we're sitting down on the porch with Elizabeth, a QHS member whose life is as heartwarming as a home-cooked meal. What paths did she follow to get to where she is today? Let's take a stroll down memory lane and see what's been cooking behind the scenes.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth, and this is my QHS prequel prior to the QArc. For the past 15 years, I have been slowly putting the pieces of my life back together after a life-altering and threatening spinal cord injury following a flu vaccine that initially paralyzed me from my chest down to my toes. These years have been some of the most challenging years of my life, and not for the faint of heart. It's been full of a mixed bag of emotions ranging from tears, heartache, fears, debilitating physical pain, disability, to excitement from small but mighty triumphs and victories when milestones and goals were met. Through the hardships, physical challenges, and healing has blossomed this beautiful journey to self, spiritual growth, and awakening of my soul. This is my story to a newfound identity, healing, and anticipation of miracles. Hi, like I said, my name's Elizabeth, and I'm 48 years old and the oldest of 5 children. I grew up on a third-generational family farm in western Kentucky, where we farmed about 1,000 acres of soybeans, corn, raised sorghum molasses, livestock, and grew our own food. We lived a very simple life, but very abundant and rich in the things that truly mattered. I took my role as being the oldest child quite literally, always striving to be a good leader, set a good example, a role model for my siblings, and I loved to help nurture them and wanted to always make my parents proud. My parents are two of the most kindest, most patient, precious, loving people I know. I've always felt supported and loved, and I had a very, very happy childhood. They instilled in us at a very young age the importance of hard work ethic, being a leader, encouraged creativity and independence, honesty, patience, forgiveness, compassion, unconditional love, and encouraged to always cultivate an intimate personal relationship with God. Some of my most favorite memories growing up are when we would take our yearly camping trips to the land between the lakes at Barkley Lake in Kentucky. Back on our farm, we loved to ride our horses and even went swimming with them in the backwater. We even occasionally, a time or two, may have ridden our pigs, which we still laugh about. Our days were spent exploring and adventuring the great outdoors, building hay forts in our barn, playing flashlight tag at night, making mud pies, catching fireflies, playing sports, fishing, going mudding on our four-wheelers and dune buggies, and playing hide and seek in the woods. There are many evenings my dad would load our whole family up in our Jeep, and we would go looking at the wildlife out in the country, and then we would have a weenie roast at night by the riverfront. My childhood was full of thrill and adventure. We oftentimes reminisce of all the fun times and memories at our family get-togethers. I started off a very shy kid growing up, but it was my involvement in sports, particularly basketball, that I played from 3rd grade to about my senior year in high school, that slowly pulled me out of my shell. I went from being very shy to not minding being the center of attention. I enjoyed being a leader and took my leadership roles. For example, in high school, I was a student council and also a captain of our basketball team for a couple of years. I never cared to follow or fit in. I always kind of enjoyed leading and being my own self and comfortable in my own skin. If people didn't like me, then I knew that something within themselves, that was something they maybe needed to look at. It's always been important to me to be my most genuine and truest self. I met my wonderful husband in 1995 one weekend when I came home to visit from college. He was helping my dad on our farm in appreciation for my dad letting him hunt on our property. For me, it was attraction and love at first sight. I knew this man from the very beginning was my soulmate. The one I'd been praying for since I was a little girl. We started dating pretty quickly, and 2 years later got married. We have been married for 25 years, and he is still the love of my life and my best friend. We've made it through hell and back literally, and I love him more today than the first time I laid eyes on him. He has literally committed every part of himself to our marriage, oftentimes sacrificing so much, but he never complains. I always feel loved and supported by him. I definitely could not have gotten through the past 15 years after this injury without him by my side, encouraging me to never give up. He's my real life Superman. For the first 5 or 6 years of our marriage, we spent a lot of time traveling and on the go, enjoying family, friends, and hobbies. After a while, I went back to college after graduating with an associate's degree and decided I would go into nursing since I had already been working in healthcare for about 5 years. I graduated from nursing school in 2001 and was actually given a very prestigious award called the Florence Nightingale Spirit of Nursing Award, and that I was really very honored to receive. One student was voted on by the instructors which student they would want to take care of them if they were sick or put in the hospital, and they chose me. Somehow or another, I impressed them enough. I still don't really know how, but I was awarded that award. Straight out of college, I went to work as an ICU nurse. Since then, I've had experience working in home health, medical, surgical, newborn intensive care, and pediatrics for almost a decade until 2001, when my life came to that abrupt halt, triggered by the flu. My husband and I have a son. His name is Gabriel, who is 18 now, who we adopted from Guatemala when he was only 3 months old. He's had our heart from the first time we laid eyes on him. He's one of the many reasons why I fought so hard to get my mobility and function back so I could take care of him and do all the things I dreamed of doing as a mom. He was definitely instrumental in pushing me to keep going and to never give up. Growing up, I was a fairly healthy child. I had the usual cold and flu. I did have chicken pox when I was really little and mono when I was 16. I do remember a time when I was 12 and I was in the hospital for a couple of days so that the doctors could run tests. I kept having extreme lethargy, abnormal white count, and enlarged lymph nodes. And at the time, the doctor was concerned I might have leukemia. But thankfully, all those things resolved themselves. Other than ankle sprains and a broken finger playing basketball and falling off a horse a time or two and getting the breath knocked out of myself, I didn't really have any major injuries growing up. The end of September in 2009, I received my first ever flu. During the next couple weeks, I continued to have lower motor weakness, severe neck and lower back pain. October 12, 2009, I was rushed to the hospital by ambulance after I pulled off the side of the road while driving, experiencing chest pains, shortness of breath, numbness in arms and legs, and the most painful muscle spasms that wouldn't seem to let up between my shoulder blades. Of course, after a couple of days, I lost the ability to urinate and use my left leg and was having numbness radiating down my arms and legs. I was taken back to the ER and admitted and diagnosed a couple of days later with a rare neuromuscular condition called transverse myelitis, oftentimes triggered by vaccines, and went into later on to see specialists over the course of the years that ruled every other cause out but that. With the transverse myelitis, the myelin sheath that protects the spinal cord injury is affected, and I had so much swelling around the cervical and thoracic areas of the spine, from about C5 to C6 to T2, that I had ended up with severe debilitating nerve damage from the swelling that still affects me from my chest down to my toes today. It left me with a list of residual that after the injury, I stayed in the hospital in acute care for about a week and a half and was transferred to inpatient rehab and stayed there for about 6 or 7 weeks undergoing intensive, grueling, and strenuous physical and occupational therapy until I was finally able to be discharged the day before Thanksgiving. For about 2.5 years following discharge, I underwent more intensive outpatient OT and PT. I went from basically a fully functioning and independent wife and mom to an infantile state essentially overnight when this first happened, where I had no control of my bowels, my bladder, functions of the body. I had to literally depend on others to do everything for me, from my personal care, turning me over in bed, sitting me up, feeding me, blowing my nose, brushing my teeth and my hair. The most simplest things. It was devastating and a huge adjustment, not only for me, but my entire family. And all our daily routines had to change. Everything about daily life was never the same again. My arms, although weak at the time, I could use them, but I had no fine motor control in my hands. So picking up a cotton ball was literally impossible for me to do. I felt such a huge disconnect with my body, like I didn't recognize recognize it anymore. I often felt like I was being tortured inside my body because of the debilitating pain that came with the nerve damage. I'm thankful the swelling didn't go up any farther in my cervical spine like the doctors had kind of warned my family about, or else it could have actually taken my life, or at the very least I would have been put on a ventilator because of losing the ability to breathe on my own. A lot has changed since the initial shock of the injury. I've come a long way in every way with a lot of support from my family, hard work and dedication, a positive attitude, and the attitude to never give up. The residuals that I still experience are extreme brain fog, forgetfulness, and this is why I'm basically having to read this from a script, because doing it on the fly, it seems impossible. Also, right hand motor weakness is still there. I have temperature intolerances, like hot and cold temperatures. I just don't tolerate. Balance issues, lower motor weakness. I'm able to walk now with the rolling walker in short distances with a cane. I do cruise around my house using the furniture from time to time. Still have issues with neurogenic bowel and neurogenic bladder, and I'm on a daily bowel program to manage this. And it does take up a good part of my day, and it's very unpredictable, and it dictates my day. But I'm thankful that I can do these things independently now, where that wasn't the case before. I still can't tell the difference between hot or cold, sharp or dull from my chest down, but I can feel tactile touch with no problem. My biggest complaint has been the debilitating pain, nerve pain, myofascial pain, and muscle pain from the spasms and tremors. I still have quite a bit of muscle spasticity when I walk, or if I've been sitting for long periods of time, or laying for long periods. My muscles feel like they turn into concrete, so the more I move, the better I feel, which is difficult because I've also had chronic fatigue to try to manage. So the muscles stay pretty tight regardless of how much stretching I do every day. They still don't feel like they get very loose. The nerve pain, it just seems to have gotten worse, especially over the past 3 or 4 years. Riding in a vehicle or driving is very irritating to the nerves because of the vibrations, so I try to avoid those things as much as possible. Even my clothes touching my skin sets the pain off as well. The nerve pain feels like a mixture of broken glass under the skin, boiling hot and freezing sensations that radiate along the nerve pathways. I really miss physical touch, especially from my husband and loved ones, because the simplest hug can trigger or irritate the pain even more. It's been a pretty traumatic experience, to say the least. The pain has caused me to become more of a recluse, whereas before I was really outgoing, free, independent, adventure-seeking, and on the go. I love to do and be around people and enjoy time with others, so this has made it all very difficult. All my hobbies that I enjoyed before the injury are nearly impossible, or very difficult to replicate with the disabilities, although I do try to think of new things that I enjoy, or tweak the things that I used to love to do before as much as possible. Before the injury, I was very healthy, very in shape, loved to exercise, and was very active. But after the injury, because of the steroids, it caused me to gain a lot of weight. I became at least 50 pounds overweight over the course of the years, which only added to the insult. In the last couple years, I've made positive and drastic changes in my diet, avoiding chemicals, toxins, poisons in or around my body that are in our environment, food, water, as much as possible. Had to change my whole entire way of thinking. In the last 2 years, I've actually become more active than I've ever been before and feel like my best self, even with the residual and challenges that I face. QHS and the QT Wave have played a huge part in my shift to this new and improved me. It came right about the same time I was modifying my diet. Old habits began neurotherapy, which helps increase the blood flow and circulation, decreases inflammation and pain, with the use of tiny injections of lidocaine under the skin. This was a game changer to get rid of the swelling in my legs and feet and get me moving better. I've been doing parasite and heavy metal cleanses to detox and improve my immune system. I've been able to do more and more, be able to be more and more mobile than I've ever been in the past 15 years too. With the help of my naturopath, been able to manage increased Epstein-Barr virus levels with ozone therapies to cleanse the blood and body as well. And also I've been doing seeing a active release therapist where he does dry needling and cupping, which has really helped tremendously as well. And then I've been able to do my own laundry, cook a little bit, do light housekeeping, stand for longer periods of time, more than I've been able to have for the past 15 years. I've even been able, even with my walker, take it out and vacuum my pool. It takes me a lot longer than what it normally would, but I'm doing it, so I'm really thankful for that. I've been able to wean off of taking 32 pills a day at one point in my journey down to just 4 pharmaceuticals, those of which I'm still trying to wean as much as I can tolerate. I can swim, although my arms do most of the work. Sometimes walk independently. I'm getting stronger and more mobile with combination of positive thinking and positive changes to a better lifestyle. My view for the present and future is nothing but positive and full of dreams, imagination, creativity, miracles, and vision. QHS is very much a part of my vision and so honored to be a part of this project. What I'm looking to most after my do-over in the QArc is to be able to do the simplest things that most people take for granted on a day-to-day basis, like just go for a walk or a run or a hike, to dance again, just to use the bathroom normally. I know that's probably TMI, but I'm an open book, so and not take the entire morning or have to dictate my day. I look forward to being able to melt to my bed at night and sleep soundly and peacefully without being woken up every hour or two needing to move my body so that it doesn't go into a tremor or muscle spasm. I look forward to taking long road trips and many, many vacations with my family. I look forward to my independence and not feeling so dependent on others, although I'm deeply humbled and grateful for all that have helped me along the way. I'm looking forward to not feeling like a prisoner in my own home because the pain is too much sometimes to be able to get out and about and enjoy the things and people I love. I look forward to being pain-free where my mind is not constantly consumed with how I'm going to manage the pain every minute of every day. I'm excited and looking forward to intimate time again with my husband. He's been so long and scared to even give me a hug because all that just sends me over the edge with the nerve pain. I look forward to having ability to help care for others when they need it. Again, I look forward to all the humanitarian projects that I've got planned and want to be involved in and having the health and mobility to do it. The problem I'm going to have is focusing on one thing at a time because I've had all this downtime for myself and so many days confined to the bed, dreaming and wishing of things, all the things that I look forward and got on my to-do list I want to accomplish. I'll wrap this up by saying through the physical losses, lack of mobility, and struggles, I had a lot of downtime to think. The downtime forced me to slow my life down to a snail's crawl. I came to realize all the things before the injury I had been overlooking and burying deep within myself, and that might not be serving me at my highest good. It forced me to have to go within, ask the serious questions, and I didn't realize how much trauma and pain I was holding onto, and even unforgiveness. And not just from this injury, but things of the past. It's like the darkness being brought to light. This catapulted the need for major changes and shadow work to be done and forced me to self-reflect on my life and do some inner soul searching. Not only look at the physical trauma, but mental, emotional as well. So in a sense, I'm thankful for this entire process or experience because without it, it probably wouldn't have asked myself the hard questions or come to a greater understanding or awakening of the soul and myself. The greater purpose to help me discover who I truly am and to realize I am the person I am today is the one I've been searching for all this entire time. I will never ever give up, and with the help of QHS and the device and the QArc, I'm hopeful we are all closer than we've ever been before in bringing complete restoration and healing to the entire world. So for that, I'm really excited and very grateful.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.